Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. Thanks for stopping by today. Today's video is a part of a very special YouTube video hop. My friend Carrie is celebrating 2,000 subscribers, so be sure you check the information box below for links to the next video, as well as a link to Carrie's YouTube channel where you can enter to win some fun giveaways. The theme for this hop is thank you cards, so I'm going to be using this Lawn Fawn Scripty Thanks die along with the We Are Memory Keepers fringe tape. I thought it would be fun to make a little fringe embellishment. And so I'm starting out by adding just a little bit of stick-it adhesive to the back of this Nina Solar White cardstock. I wanted my sentiment to have a lot of dimension to it, but I didn't want to have to stack up several different die cuts, so I'm just going to add fun foam to my Nina Solar White cardstock before I even die cut it. So I'm just applying that to the Nina Solar White, and once I get that piece or the strip of stick-it adhesive onto the cardstock, I'm going to go ahead and burnish it down using my bone folder. That way I get a really nice adherence to the cardstock. And once that's burnished on there, I'm going to remove the second backer sheet and just apply my fun foam right over it. Now, this is a great way to achieve dimension on those intricate die cuts that you really want to have a little bit of dimension. They might be hard to put a little bit of foam tape behind. This is the perfect solution, and I'm going to show you here. I'm using my regular cutting sandwich. I'm not using any extra shims or special precision base plate. I'm just running it right through my Big Shot, and it cuts beautifully. So I've gone ahead and cut several of those out. I just kind of cut extra because I thought it might be nice to have a couple extra on hand. And I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending onto this quarter sheet of Nina Solar White cardstock. Now, I'm going to blend three colors here together, and in the end, it really did not matter. So just hang in there with me. I'm starting out with the Lake Shores ink from Simon Says Stamp. It's a hybrid ink. I have these little hybrid ink cubes from Simon Says Stamp. Then I'm moving into the Spring Rain hybrid ink, and I'll finish off with the High Dive hybrid ink. And I'm just getting kind of an ombre effect here. Really beautiful colors. I left this in here because I think these colors work really well together, and it may be something that you might want to use on another card, but in the end, you really only see the Lake Shores, I think, on this die cut once I get finished. So I'm going to be cutting this out into a heart shape, and I wanted to have some fringe on the bottom of this heart-shaped embellishment. Now, I was inspired by the embellishments that Maggie Holmes just released. I believe it's in her Bloom collection. There's these little fringed hearts, and I thought it would be fun to go ahead and make my own. And this We Are Memory Keepers fringe tape is perfect for it. I love it because, as you see here, I am just ripping it, and it's kind of made out of tissue. It's sturdy enough that you don't have to worry about messing it up too much, but it is also easy enough to just tear. So you see I've stacked up a couple of different strips there. One is from the Ocean pack. The other is from the white fringe tape, and I'll link those in the description below. And then over the top of that, where the fringe tape meets the cardstock, I'm just going to apply a little strip of gold glitter cardstock. Now, when I went to go line up my die cut, I decided that I needed one more strip of that ocean colored fringe there on the bottom. It is really important, and you're seeing here why, that when you apply this fringe tape to your project, that you work from the bottom up, because as you can see here, it's very hard to apply something underneath the fringe that's already there. So you want to make sure you work from the bottom up, but I found here that the fringe wasn't going all the way to the bottom of the heart, so I needed another line of it. And you can see a couple of those little pieces of fringe escaped the die cut sandwich. So I'm just trimming off the excess using my scissors there. And I am going to fluff up this fringe several times in this video because I just can't resist playing with it. So once I got my embellishment created, I figured it needed a little landing place on the card front. So I'm just inking up this stamp here with some Versamark ink, and I'm going to be embossing it in some Wow Sparkle embossing powder. And I had forgotten to prep my card surface, so I went ahead and did that with my EK Success powder tool, and now I'm stamping this stamp onto this Nina Solar White cardstock and applying that Wow Sparkle embossing powder. Now, this is a really fun embossing powder, but I tend to make a mess whenever glitter is involved. So I just keep a little stash of these Swiffer cloths. These are for the dry sweeper, and I just kind of wipe up my work surface. You saw I got a little extra glitter on my desk there, and that cleans up really easily. Once I got my work surface cleaned up, I went ahead and heat set that. And now I'm going to add just a little bit of color just to the very bottom of this die cut that I've created. So I used my ink blending tool to blend on some of that Lakeshores ink. Now I decided that this would be fun to have a little bit of shimmer over all of these, so I'm using the Sukanyeko Sparkle Spray or Sparkle Spritz or Shimmer Spritz. I don't know, I'll have it linked in the description below. I'm not sure what the technical term is for it, but it makes it all sparkly. So I went ahead and misted all of that, and I gave it a pretty good misting. And then I added a little bit of foam adhesive to the back of that fringed heart embellishment. And I'm going to kind of trim a little bit of this off because I decided that it needed to kind of bleed off the card front. But when I go to trim this, I need to make sure that I'm pushing my blade in the same direction that the fringe is hanging. I don't want to go against the grain of the fringe because that could tear it. So I'm just going to lay this onto my trimmer, and then I'm going to push the blade in the same direction as the fringe. And that gave me a nice clean cut, and I didn't rip any of my fringe or anything. And then I'm going to add a second layer of foam adhesive to the back of this heart. Now, that vellum heart there is kind of sandwiched between the two layers of foam adhesive so that it will also have dimension as it sits on the card front. And then I'll just adhere that right over that stamped background that I created onto the card front. Once I get my embellishment positioned on the front of my card, I'm going to go ahead and add my sentiment here. And I'm just using a little multi-matte medium to adhere this onto my card front. Now, had I thought about it, which I didn't, I could have probably added another layer of Stick-It adhesive to the back of that fun foam as well and cut all of the layers at once. That Stick-It adhesive is a nice thin adhesive and it die cuts really well. So I probably could have done that, but I didn't. And here I'm just trying to show you a little glimpse of that shimmer spray that I put all over that. It gives it a nice little sparkle. It's kind of hard to see in the video, but in real life it makes for a nice little sparkle. For my card base, I'm going to be using a little Nina Solar White 110-pound cardstock. This is cut to 4 1/4 by 11, and I went ahead and scored it at 5 1/2 to create a top folding card. And here's where I screw it all up again. I'm always doing things after the fact, and it creates more trouble than it's worth, but I wanted to trim a little bit off of that edge, and I ended up creating a crooked trim line. So I did have to go ahead and re-emboss my card front and trim that down. I wanted to make some room for a little bit of that fringe tape along the side of that card front, which is why I trimmed it down a little bit more than earlier. So no big deal. It was an easy fix. I got my new card front created. I put my embellishment back on that. And then I'm going to add a little bit of tape runner adhesive along that edge and add just a little tiny bit of gold glitter cardstock. And then I am going to adhere some fringe tape along the left side of that card front, but I figured it needed to have shimmer just like the fringe tape that's on the card front already. So I went ahead and spritzed that with the Sukanyeko shimmer spray as well. And I will attach that onto this card front using a little Be Creative tape. And this fringe has some adhesive on it, but the adhesive is on the back side and I need this to adhere on the front side. So that's why I had to add a little bit of Be Creative tape. You could also use some tape runner here. And I get one shot to lay this down because if I have to rip this fringe tape off, it is delicate. So I would end up ripping the fringe tape. Luckily, I got it on there in the first try and then I just trimmed off the excess. And I've also gone ahead and rounded that bottom right-hand corner of both my card base and my card front. And now I am using a little tape runner adhesive to adhere that card front to my card base. And I did add a layer of fun foam behind that card front as well. Now I couldn't just leave it here. I decided that this needed a little bit of sparkle, a little bit more sparkle, I should say. So I'm adding a variety of different sizes of the Pretty Pink Posh sparkling clear sequins, which you all know are my favorite. And then in order to support that die cut where it's hanging off of the embellishment, I just trimmed a little piece from another one of the sentiments that I had cut down. I put a little tape runner on the front of it and adhered that behind, and that's giving it a little bit of support where it's hanging over that embellishment. As I mentioned earlier, this video is a part of a YouTube video blog hop, so be sure you check the description below to find out your next stop along this hop, as well as to find Carrie's channel where you can enter to win some prizes from Butterfly Reflections Inc., Lawn Fawn, and Mint Owl Studio. As always, I will have links to all the products used in this project in the description at YouTube, as well as over at my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.